राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा गोपीनाथ श्री राधे। जय राधा नील माधव श्री राधे। जय गौरानिताय जय, गौरानिताय जय, गौरानिताय जय, गौरानिताय जय। जय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय। गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव। निताय गौरा हरि बोल, हरि बोल निताय गौरा हरि बोल। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय, जगत गुरु शिला प्रपात की जय, जगत गुरु शिला गुरुदेव की जय, समस्त गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। So thank you very much for joining, and also welcome to the new devotees who have joined this Bhagavad Gita session with us today, this Friday. So I welcome each and every one of you. Thank you very much for joining. And today we'll be discussing Bhagavad Gita chapter number 4, and the verse is text 23. But before we do that, we will do Mangalacharan, seeking the blessings of the Vaishnavas so that they can empower us, so that we can glorify the Lordship and relish and understand and imbibe this great knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. So, if you know, please follow. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं सहग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिका कान्ता राधा कान्ता नमोऽस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णा प्रेमा प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्या नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः। नमो ब्राह्मण्य देवाय गौ ब्राह्मणाय हिताय च जगद्दीताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, thank you very much for joining. So, as as we've been doing this chapter number 4, so uh, let's understand. This chapter 4 is called as the transcendental knowledge. So, in this, Krishna is going to explain uh, about his divine energies, as well as he's also going to talk about the karma, and he's going to give us a very detailed explanation of what is karma and which is the best of the karma, right? So in the previous lectures we have heard that karma has got 3 types. So one is vikarma, which is the forbidden action. Then there is karma, and then there is akarma. Now, in this chapter, with the topics that we're discussing, right? So it starts with the words from text number 9, wherein Krishna is going to explain which is the karma, what is the karma, and how one should perform the karma. So, if we understand the context why Krishna is explaining about the word karma here, or emphasizing on the aspect of which is the best karma that one should perform, is because before this, in the first chapter, Arjuna puts his argument saying that, well, I don't want to fight because I'm not interested in the kingdom, or enjoying a kingdom in this material world, because to enjoy that kingdom of this material world, I'll have to fight. I have to kill all my relatives, all the friends who I really have respected, love them. And killing one's own family members and trying to enjoy a kingdom is the most sinful act, due to which I will actually fall into the hellish planets and I have to go into hell. So I don't want to go into hell. So Arjuna says that he doesn't want to go into hell, nor he wants to enjoy the kingdom. So what his option is, he's clearly saying that he doesn't want to perform any fighting at all. So he doesn't want to perform his karma. So that is called as a karma, right? So as I said, so let us go to the understanding of the word akarma. Akarma means one who doesn't want to perform any action. Why? Because he doesn't want to take any reaction, right? As Krishna says, for every action there is a reaction, right? That is called as karma. So here Arjuna is given his argument saying that he doesn't want to fight and he wants to be a karma, right? Now Krishna in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 3 says, Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tishtasya karma kit karyate asha karma sarvan prakriti jaya gunair. So in that, Krishna says very clearly that there is no living entity in this world, in this material world, who can actually live without performing any action. So there is no possibility whatsoever. Even if you're not doing physically, there is some action that you will do mentally. And as soon as we think something, it will also come into our actions. So everyone is forced, because we all are born with our gunas, right? Sarvan Prakriti Jair Gune. So Krishna says very clearly that we all are born with gunas, and that gunas, these gunas, that is 3 modes of material nature, that will act on us, as well as we are born with some sort of desires and gunas, those will actually compel us to perform an action. So here Krishna has given the uh, understanding that one cannot be in the platform of akarma. Now akarma is again been explained in this chapter 4, and why it has been explained, let us understand that. So if you understand, akarma means not performing in an action so that he does not get any reactions, right? So Arjuna doesn't want to do any action that will cause him any reactions. So now Krishna is explaining that is not the real meaning of akarma. Akarma has got a different meaning, and that is a very highest and the most superior form of karma, and that is akarma. Now, here akarma means that you don't have. Arjuna says that doesn't want to perform any action, so that does not get any reaction. Now, Krishna is going to explain here, saying that yes, there are activities that you can perform, and by performing those activities, you will not even get any reaction. And these sort of activities is actually called as akarma. Now, this akarma is the highest form because it is actually part of the devotional service. So that means it says that Krishna is saying that if you're performing any activity on the material benefit or on a material ground for self enjoyment, then you will definitely have reactions for it, right? But the same activity, if you do to please the Supreme Lord, then those activities will be a part of purification process, and that will be considered as the devotion to the Lord, as an offering to the Lord, due to which there will not be any reactions. So Krishna is going to explain this in detail. So let us read just the translations. So let's go to this verse number 9. This is from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 4, text number 9. So one who knows the transcendental nature of, sorry, not this. Sorry. Yeah. So here, this is the one, text number 15. So here, let us try to understand this each and every translation, because these are actually the qualifications or the criteria of performing a karma, that is action with which you don't get any reaction. Okay, so the first one, the first criteria here is mentioned in text number 15. It says that all the liberated souls in the ancient times acted with this understanding of my transcendental nature. Therefore, you should perform your duty following in their footsteps. So what does it mean? It says very clearly that akarma can be performed and should be performed. But how? That is the first thing. The first thing is that you cannot do it whimsically. Just by thinking, oh, I will do this activity that will please the Lord, I will do this. No. The first criteria here is that one has to follow the footsteps of the liberated soul. That is, we have got to perform a karma or to do an activity that will not have any reaction. One needs to follow the footsteps of the great acharyas. So Srila Prabhupada has given us this beautiful process of Krishna consciousness, wherein the activities that we do are being actually prescribed to us through the scriptures. It is there in Bhagavad Gita. It is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. It is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Not only that, people who have followed that, they have also got the benefit of enjoying Krishna consciousness. So any activity that a person does to please the Supreme Lord, that activity is called as an act of devotion. And because you are actually doing an activity to please the Supreme Lord, that will actually have no reaction. Now, all this is been not concocted. It is there in the scriptures. It is been practiced by the acharyas and the liberated souls. All that we have to do is simply follow. Here it says, following in their footsteps. So, to perform a karma, which will not have any reaction, the first criteria is we have to follow the footsteps. So there is already people who have done it, and it is there prescribed in the scriptures. Now, here in 16, sorry, this computer is playing up, sorry for that. Okay. So here, Krishna goes on to explain why it is important that we have to follow the footsteps of the liberated souls. Because Krishna gives an answer in the chapter in text number 16. It says, even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I shall explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated from all misfortunes. So here Krishna is explaining that it's very difficult for anyone to understand what is good action, what is bad action, right? Even if you do good action, you will actually get pious credits for which you get to enjoy in the Swargaloka, in the higher planetary system. But those are like credit points. Once those credit points finish, you again come back to this material world. If a person performs sinful activities, for that he will have to take the punishment in the hellish planets, right? So any action that we do is actually causing some sort of reaction, whether it is good or bad. But eventually, the bottom line is that we actually come back to this material world where we have to take birth again, and we again have to go through all this process. That means once you get this body, you again have to do all the activities, right? So in this way, what we are doing, we are actually only inviting misfortune, right? So what Krishna is saying here is that no one can understand what is really action and inaction. And now Krishna is going to explain what is action and inaction. And by knowing this, we can actually perform the activities due to which we actually get closer to Krishna, and all the misfortunes will be actually taken away from our lives. We always feel like in Bhagavatam it is prayana alpa ayushya kalo asmin yuge jana manda sumanda mateyo manda bhagya upatrita. Like everyone knows in this, everyone has experienced in this material world that we are manda bhagya. That means we always think, and we all are misfortune. Why we are misfortune? Because we try, we perform all the activities in this world. Why? So that we can be happy. We actually work hard so that we can be happy. But eventually what happens? That happiness is only for short term. And we work hard day and night, years and years, months and months, years and years. And then what do we get? With every happiness, there is some sort of fear that we get, that this happiness is not going to stay for long. Secondly, you actually put in your years, right? Your age is also deteriorating, right? Your body is deteriorating. So all our efforts that we are doing, it's actually physically draining and also mentally draining. And because it is draining, whatever that we have done and we don't get the results for the action that we have performed, we actually are very misfortunate people. So by knowing what is the right action, what is the wrong action, right? Then what we can do is we can actually get rid of this misfortune. And here Krishna goes on to explain in text number 17, the intricacies of actions are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So here in this verse, Krishna is clearly explaining what is action, what is forbidden action, and what is inaction. For Arjuna, inaction means not to do any work so that you don't get reaction. But Krishna says, no, that is wrong. Inaction means performing an action, right? It is very important that one has to perform this action. And by performing these actions, only one can actually get the results for all the activities that is doing. If you don't perform an action, you will not get the results. So here Krishna is saying that we need to know what is action, what is forbidden action, and what is inaction. Now Krishna goes on to explain in text number 18 what is the qualities of inaction. Okay, what is inaction? He goes on to explain us in detail. So in text number 18, Krishna says, one who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is intelligent man, and he is in the transcendental position, although engaged in all sorts of activities, right? So here Krishna goes on to explain that one should see inaction in action and action in inaction. What does it clearly means is that one should say that whatever activity I'm doing, is it really going to give me spiritual benefits? If that activity is not giving spiritual benefit, that means you're not doing the right action. Now, the same activity that we are doing, but if we do to please the Supreme Lord, then that activity becomes inaction, right? So for example, whatever we cook, right? Instead of eating it directly, right, and not offering to the Lord, what it becomes? That becomes bhoga, and that bhoga becomes roga, and with that we actually have reactions. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita in third chapter that by not offering the food to the Supreme Lord or to the demigods who have actually made this food available to us, we are actually God. We are called as thieves, and for that we actually get sin. And this is how we actually get into the cycle of this birth, death, old age, and disease, and we actually suffer so many punishments. But the same food, when you cook with love and you offer it to Krishna, right, requesting the Lord, praying to the Lord that please accept this food. When Krishna accepts that food, what does he do? He actually purifies that food. He takes away all the sins from it. And what does he do? That food, because it is been purified by the Lord, when we eat, that bhoga becomes prasadam. And when we eat prasadam, what happens? Because we are eating sanctified food, a food which is been, what have been, sorry, I forgot the word. Okay. The food that we actually offer to the Lord, and because Krishna has taken away all the sins from it, now that food will actually purify us. Only that food will purify us. People think, oh, I'm vegetarian, so I'm not doing any sin, and that is the best food. No, Krishna says that's not the thing. What is important is that we actually eat the food that has been prescribed to us in the scriptures. First, that food should be offered to Krishna. And when we offer that food to Krishna with love, and when Krishna accepts and he purifies that food and give it to us, that becomes prasadam. And when we eat that food, we also get purified. And in this way, the food that we did not offer was actually a sin. But the same food, when we offer to Krishna, it becomes prasadam. So this is what we understand. That we need to understand that all the activities that we do, we should actually see to it that these activities will help us to engage us in service of Krishna. And that is called as inaction in action and action in inaction. And a person who knows this, Krishna says, such person is an intelligent man. Right? Now, how is this been done? Is what explained in text number 19. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose every endeavor is devoid of desires for sense gratification. He is said by the sages to be a worker for whom the reactions of work have been burned up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So here in this verse, Krishna is further explaining what is inaction, that is akarma. And here he says, Krishna says that one is understood to be in full knowledge, whose endeavor is devoid of desires for sense gratification. That means any activity, any karma that we do, right? The first criteria here, again, Krishna is emphasizing here is that it should be done with no desire for sense gratification. One should not perform the activities just because he wants to enjoy for himself. As we give an example, the food, right? We should actually cook the food. We have got all the rights to eat the food. But which food? Krishna is saying that you offer it to me. And what he will do? He will take away all the sins. He will purify the food. So that means when we cook the food for pleasing the Supreme Lord, to please the Supreme Lord, what happens? We are actually not taking any sense gratification. We are not cooking for our own desire, right? Krishna is so nice and so merciful that he will take every sin from that food and burn it away, as what is said here. He will burn it because we are using our knowledge. What is the knowledge? The knowledge is that we understand that we are part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is a supreme father, right? He is the giver of everything that we have. Hence, whatever we have, we should offer it to Krishna. And when we offer it to Krishna, Krishna will take away every sin from it. And we will live a very sinless life. That is first thing. Secondly, he purifies us. right? That is internal purification happens. And when internal purification happens, we actually are qualifying to get the right knowledge. And Krishna says the first step is that any activity that we do, we should actually do it with the view that we are not doing it for our own sense gratification. That is the first criteria of inaction. Now, second thing is abandoning all attachment to the result of his actions. Ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive action, although engaged in all kinds of undertaking. So, second thing Krishna says, adding to it, is that one should not even do the activity with the attachment that he will get to enjoy some results, right? And one should perform this activity with full satisfaction and independent, right? One should do this activity with the view to please the Lord. So when we perform this activity and we are not expecting any fruitive results or fruitive actions, then that sort of activity is qualifies as a karma. That is an activity to please the Supreme Lord. And such activities will not have any reactions. Now, how that is? Once you get that sort of what is a intelligence, what happens is what Krishna explaining in text number 21. He says, such a man of understanding acts with mind, intelligence perfectly controlled, giving up all the sense proprietorship over his possessions and acts only for the bare necessities of life. Thus, working is not affected by sinful reactions. So, here Krishna is emphasizing that such activity that we do to please the Lord, what happens? How should be done? First is that one should do it by controlling the senses. That is, one should not do it for sense gratification, right? Now, it doesn't mean that he should not do the activity. He should perform the activity. But how? He should consider that he's doing it by giving up the proprietorship to the Supreme Lord. And any activity that he does, right, he should do it with the view that, okay, this is what is necessary for my life, right? It says the necessities of life. What is the necessities of life? Krishna is not saying that like Arjuna gave a argument that I will not fight and I'll go to the forest and I will do the tapasya there. Well, when Arjuna has a guna and he was born as a Kshatriya, that means Arjuna has to fight, right? He cannot give up his karma like that. So, Krishna says that one should perform all the activities, right? You're working, you have to work. You have to earn money, right? You have to look after your kids. You have to look after your family. But the most important part is in all these things is that you are doing it. All these things you are able to do it or you're doing it is only because Krishna has given you the permission, right? Krishna has given you the approval and Krishna is the one who is providing you all the facilities to do those activities, right? So one should not try to do the work so much so that he forgets Krishna. So rather, one should actually try to live a very simple and understanding life. That is, one should understand that whatever activities that he is doing or whatever that he needs is being provided by Krishna. And he has to control his senses. Here he says, controlled, giving up all the sense of proprietorship over his position. So we all want to work. We all work because we want to pay the mortgage. We want a house, right? We want to educate our kids. All these are bare necessities. We have to, right? But when we do it, we should not do it with the view that, okay, I'm getting very wealthy. My kids are studying very well. They are better than others, right? I'm actually getting fame. So those sort of attitude, or sorry, those sort of mentality a person should not carry. Rather, he should understand one thing that he is able to do it only because Krishna has given him all those facilities. and he's been able to use those energies, that knowledge and that intelligence that Krishna has given him in the right way. That is, for he will do all the activities, but he will give the credit and the ownership to Krishna. Because if Krishna does not sanction, no one can do anything in this world. So what happens when he does that? Krishna says that he who is satisfied with gains which comes on its own accord, who is free from dualities and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is neither entangled although performing actions. So it will seem that, okay, we are doing everything the same, right? Like people in Krishna consciousness who follow ISKCON, right? They early morning they get up, they do their chanting, right? Then they worship the Lord. They actually offer the foodstuffs to the Lord. They give the breakfast to the Lord. And after that, they eat that breakfast. They get ready so that they can start their material work. But even while doing that, they are actually doing all these activities for what? So that they can please Krishna. So what it means that all the activities, Krishna should be the center and Krishna should be the benefactor, right? We, in normal world, we actually work so that we get the benefit. Because we do that, what happens? We are afflicted by these sinful reactions. So what Krishna says that is that one has to use his mind and intelligence, and he should actually give everything to Krishna. And when he gives that, what happens? He gains satisfaction. And because now you have actually surrendered to Krishna, what happens? Krishna will give you everything that is necessary for you so that you can actually do your duties perfectly without any reactions, and at the same time he will also award you everything so that you can grow in your devotional service. And one should understand that any activity that we do, we should actually do it without any envy or for any sense pleasure. And we should be steady. We should be steady in our enthusiasm to serve Krishna. When we are steady and we are engaged in service of Krishna, although we are engaged in the material activities in the world, but because our consciousness is to serve Krishna, then what happens? We are not entangled. Although we are performing all the activities that anyone in this world is doing, but because our consciousness is to serve and please Krishna, that is why we will never get entangled. And then comes today's verse. So we'll read the verse. Gatasangasya muktasya ज्ञानवष्टिस्तचेतसः यज्ञाय आचरते कर्म समाग्रम pravaliyate. So it says Gata Sangasya, of one attached in the mode of material nature, Muktasya, of the liberated, Jnana Avastitha, situated in transcendence, Chetasa, whose wisdom, Yajnaya, for the sake of Yagna, that is for Krishna, Acharate, that is acting, Karma, work, Samagrama, in total, Pravaliyate, that is merges entirely. So, translation by His Loving Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, the work of a man who is unattached to the mode of material nature and is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into the transcendence. So, let us read the purport to understand it better. So, Prabhupada explains, becoming fully Krishna conscious, one is freed from all dualities and thus is free from the contamination of the material mode. He can become liberated because he knows his constitutional position in relationship with Krishna, and thus his mind cannot be drawn from Krishna consciousness. Consequently, whatever he does for Krishna, who is the primeval Vishnu. Therefore, all his work and technically sacrifices become sacrifice aims at satisfying the Supreme Lord, Vishnu or Krishna. The resultant actions to all such works certainly merges into transcendent, and one does not suffer material effects. So even while performing the activities, if we get any credit, right, we should not get very happy about it, right? Or start thinking, oh, I have done it. Rather, we should actually give that credit to Krishna. And if any miseries come, then one should actually accept that as a mercy of the Lord. Because with these miseries, we get to learn the temporary nature of this world. And once we understand the temporary nature of this world and our position that we are not here forever, right? We are here for only few years or whatever the lifetime that Krishna has sanctioned, right? What will happen is we can actually use that intelligence, that lesson, right? Those teachings in actually making our devotion even more perfect. That is, we have to improve in our devotional service. So any miseries that comes is actually a teachings to us. It actually it comes in our life so that it teaches us that we think that we can enjoy it, but eventually we cannot enjoy it. Why? Because we are not the controller. There is only one controller, that is Krishna. And Brahmaji says, Ishvara Parama Krishna. There is only one controller, there is only one Supreme Lord, and that is Ishvara Parama Krishna. So when we know the controller is Krishna, right? When the giver is Krishna, everything is being given to us, right? Then why we should try to enjoy those results which will give us some fame? Or why should we actually lament and worry about the life where we know that everything is temporary and we are also temporary? Eventually, we have been given this body for that particular time so that we can actually engage this body, although which is temporary in nature, in the service of Lord, and then make our way back home, back to God. So here this is what Krishna is saying, that one should be free from all the dualities. And once one is free from such dualities, then such a person will not be contaminated by material modes of nature, right? There are three modes of nature, which is goodness, passion, and ignorance. Better than ignorance is passion. Better than passion is goodness. And better than goodness is that we actually understand our constitutional position and we work without being affected by any of these and simply perform these activities so that we can please Krishna. And when we do that, what happens? One does not get suffered of these material effects. And that activity, that knowledge, which actually helps us to surrender to the Supreme Lord, is called as transcendental knowledge. The knowledge with which we actually learn to love Krishna and serve Him. And that is the transcendence. Transcendence here means one is not affected by these modes of material nature because he is already connected to Krishna, is on a transcendental platform by performing all the material activities also, because he is giving all the credits to Krishna and he understands his constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. He is actually on a transcendental platform, right? So what happens next is this beautiful verse which explains what happens when a person has put his full consciousness just in serving Krishna. What happens with that is what been explained in this way. It's a beautiful verse. It says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir Brahmagno Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. So synonyms, it says Brahma, that is spiritual in nature. Arpanam, contribution. Brahma, the supreme. Haiva, that is butter. Brahma, spiritual. Agno, in the fire of consummation. Brahmana, by the spirit soul. Hutam, offered. Brahma, spiritual kingdom. Eva, certainly. Tena, by him. Gantavyam, to be reached. Brahma, spiritual. Karma, in activities. Samadhina, by complete absorption. So there is a lot of words like Brahma, Brahman, Brahman. So let us understand. So translation by His Loving Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Srila Prabhupada translated as a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution in spiritual activity, in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. So, purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. How activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. There are various activities in Krishna consciousness, and one of them will be described in the following verses. But for present, just the principle of Krishna consciousness is described. A conditioned soul entangled in material contamination is sure to act in material atmosphere, and yet he has to get out of such an environment. The process by which the conditioned soul can get out of the material atmosphere is Krishna consciousness. For example, a patient who is suffering from disorder of bowel due to overindulgence in milk products is cured by another milk product, namely curd. The materially absorbed conditioned soul can be cured by Krishna consciousness as set forth here in the Gita. This process is generally known as yagna or activities, sacrifices, simply meant for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Krishna. The more the activities of material nature are performed in Krishna consciousness or for Vishnu only, the more the atmosphere becomes spiritualized by complete absorption. The word Brahman, means spiritual. The Lord is spiritual. The rays of his transcendental body are also Brahma Jyotir, that is his spiritual effulgence. Everything that exists is situated in that Brahma Jyotir. But when the Brahma Jyoti is covered by illusion, it's called Maya, or it's its sense gratification. It is called material. This material veil can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering or contribution, the process of consumption, the contributor and the result are all combined together. Brahman or the absolute truth. The absolute truth covered by Maya is matter. The matter dovetailed from the cause of the absolute truth regain its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman or to the Supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called yagna or sacrifice for the absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer or leader of the performance and the results or the ultimate gain, everything becomes one in absolute, the Supreme Brahman. This is the method of Krishna consciousness. So here Krishna is clearly explaining that if one puts its heart and performs every action just to please the Supreme Lord, What does Krishna do? He actually spiritualizes every activity, every ingredient, the person, the results, everything he is spiritualized. How beautiful, you see. People say when you offer food to Krishna, have you seen Krishna eating food? Right? But here Krishna is giving the answer. Krishna is saying that anything that you offer to him, he will spiritualize it, provided one is doing with the with an attitude and a mindset and a mood to please the Supreme. Right? So here, a person who is in Krishna consciousness, right? Anything that he's actually earning, right? He's actually earning because he's got that energy from whom? From Krishna. So Krishna has actually given that energy which is spiritualized. So because he's spiritualized and he's performing that activity to please the Supreme Lord, anything that he takes, right, anything that he uses, everything that he buys and use it for Krishna. So that whatever that is actually taking and giving it to Krishna, Krishna actually consider that as a sacrifice. Here, as Krishna says here in this purport, that anything done in such transcendental consciousness is called as yagna or sacrifice. Krishna considers that activity, those things that we use in Krishna consciousness as the offerings in the yagna. All our activity, all our chanting that we do to please the Lord, right? Krishna actually spiritualizes it. Just because everything comes from Krishna, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabho mataha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam huda bhava samanvita. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Aham sarvasya prabho. That means I am the cause. I am the creator of both material and spiritual. Everything that you see, either it is spiritual or material, everything comes and emanates from me. Aham sarvasya prabho mataha sarvam pravartate. And everything is existing, is maintained, and everyone is able to enjoy is only because of me. Right? Because he's a controller and he's the giver. Right? So he says, Aham sarvasya prabho mataha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam. All that we need to do is just understand this core principle. If we understand this core principle, what happens? Says, iti matva bhajante mam. When you understand this and you understand your relationship with the Supreme Lord, what will happen? You will surrender. Once you surrender, what will happen? You will do all the activities to please the Lord. That is called as bhajana. Bhajana means we are 24/7 conscious of the fact that we are part and parcel of Krishna and we have got this human body so that we can serve Krishna and we can get out of the cycle of birth, that old age and disease. Right? Iti matva bhajante ma. We do the chanting. We worship the Lord. Right? We actually glorify the Lord. We read the scriptures and we understand more about the Lord. The more we get the knowledge about the Lord, then we actually put it into practice. And when we put it into practice, our life becomes very easy and simple. You don't have to work hard. This is what Bhagavad Gita in the first verse that we were discussing about in action is said that we don't have to work hard. We don't have to make pathways a different way. There is already liberated souls who have done that and they have gone back home, back to God. All that we have to do is just simply follow whatever they did. And we will definitely go back home, back to God. And this is what Prabhupada starts this verse with, this purport with. Here, if you see the purport, Prabhupada says, how activities in Krishna consciousness can lead one ultimately to the spiritual goal is described here. So, Krishna is giving us the guarantee here that you just simply work for me and make sure that you offer everything to me. I will spiritualize everything that you actually use. I will spiritualize your activities. I will purify you and I will give you the results, which is also spiritual in nature. All the activities that we do, we actually get material. And when we get any material benefit, what happens? We actually get into sense gratification. And once we get to sense gratification, we are actually doing sin. Whereas Krishna is saying that do the same thing. Whatever you're doing, go to work, earn money, but make sure that you keep Krishna in the center. You give the benefits to Krishna, right? Go to the Lord, tell them, my Lord, this is what has happened today. Can you please help me? The Lord will definitely help you. And when you get something, you go to the Lord, pray to Him, tell Him, my Lord, because of your mercy, I've received this. I'm very thankful to you. The Lord will be very pleased. He will give you more, right? And what He'll give you more is give you something that will actually increase your devotional service, which will enhance your consciousness. And that consciousness is what is Krishna consciousness. Our consciousness to serve the Lord. Our consciousness to develop more devotion, improve in devotional service, improve in our chanting, improve in our activities, right? Participate in all the spiritual activities. This we need a lot of energy to all these things. And Krishna in this verse is clearly saying that he will give you the energy, he will spiritualize everything. And once everything is spiritualized, what happens? You have got the rights to go back to Godhead. And this process, as Prabhupada said, this is the method of Krishna consciousness. It's a very beautiful verse. If you get time again, please we revisit this verse, read many times, and I'm sure you will get a lot of answers in this. So let's go on to understand what is sacrifice and how that sacrifice is being actually considered or being categorized by Krishna. So this verse talks about it. Say, Devam e pare yagnam yogina paryupasate brahm agnav apare yagnam yagneva upachavati. So it says, yeah, Daivam in the worshipping the demigods. Eva, like this. Apare, some other. Yagnam, sacrifices. Yoginaha, mistake. Paripasate, working perfectly. Brahma, of the absolute truth. Agno, in the fire. Apare, others. Yagnam, sacrifice. Yagnena, by sacrifice. Eva, thus. Upajavati, that is offer. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some sacrifice in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. So we'll understand this purport. As described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Krishna consciousness is also called a perfect yogi or a first class mystic. But there are others also who perform similar sacrifices in the worship of demigod, and still others who sacrifice to the Supreme Brahman or the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. So there are different kinds of sacrifices in terms of different categories. Such different categories of sacrifice by different types of performers only superficially demark varieties of sacrifice. Factually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is also known as Yagna. All the different sacrifices of, all the different varieties of sacrifices can be placed within two primary divisions, namely sacrifice for worldly position and sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Those who are in Krishna consciousness sacrifice all material positions for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material position to satisfy the demigods, such as the Indra, the sun god, etc. And others who are impersonalists sacrifice their identity by merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. The demigods are powerful living entities appointed by the Supreme Lord for the maintenance and supervision of all material functions like the heating, watering, and lighting of the universe. Those who are interested in the material benefit worship the demigods by various sacrifices according to the Vedic rituals, which are called Bhava Ishvara Vadi, or believers in many gods. But others who worship the impersonal feature of the absolute truth and regard the form of the demigod as temporary, sacrifice their individual self in the supreme fire and thus end their individual existence by merging in the existence of the supreme. Such impersonalists sacrifice their time in philosophical speculation to understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme. In other words, the fruitivity workers sacrifice their material position for material enjoyment, whereas the impersonalist sacrifices his material designation with a view to merge into the existence of the Supreme. For the impersonalist, the fire altar of sacrifice is the Supreme Brahman, and the offering of the self being consumed by the fire of Brahman. The Krishna conscious person, like Arjuna, however, sacrificed everything for the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus all his material position as well as his own self, everything is sacrificed for Krishna. Thus, he is a first class yogi, but he does not lose his individual existence. So, here in this verse, Krishna is explaining the types of sacrifices. So here Krishna is explaining like there are sacrifices that they do to Devi, Devtas, so that they can get some sort of benefit, right? So there are so many yagnas that they say, if you do this, you will get this. If you do this, you will get this. So they are talking about all material benefit, right? So is that this is also one form of sacrifice, but this is for the demigods. Other form is the sacrifice that is been done by the impersonalists. That means they don't believe in the form of the Lord. Now, because they don't believe in the form of the Lord, they have nothing to offer. All that they do is they actually use, they actually meditate on the what you say, impersonal form of the Lord. That is the energy of the Lord. And they believe that eventually everything is merged into the transcendental Brahma or in the Brahma Jyotir. Whereas in Bhagavad Gita, in the second chapter, Krishna says very clearly that the soul never loses its identity. That means the soul will always exist. There is no way that the soul will merge into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Because if it merges into the impersonal Brahma Jyoti, that means the importance of the soul is not understood to its full capacity, right? What does it mean here is that Krishna says that because the soul has some desire, it has actually taken a body, right? That's maybe it's a body of a human being. Now, this soul is not meant to merge. Rather, this soul is supposed to go back home, back to God, from where it has come. So it has come from Krishna. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that we all are part and parcel, right? So we should go back to where we come from. So all these activities that a person does, right? That soul gets a body of a human body, and then he performs all the activities. And then once that person dies with Krishna consciousness or serving the Lord, right? What happens? He actually goes back to Krishna Loka. So that is actually the complete journey of a soul. That means it started from Krishna and then it goes back to Krishna. So here Krishna is saying that the best sacrifice is what? That we actually do our action, right? But to satisfy the Supreme Lord. And when we do that, all the material position that we have, all the knowledge that we'll have, that will be used in Krishna service. And in this way, this is the best sacrifice. That is doing Krishna consciousness. And in this way, we will never lose our individual existence. So we are over by 2 minutes. I'm sorry for that. But thank you very much for joining. Just a second. Thank you very much for joining in. We'll meet again next week, Friday. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। समस्त गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्ण।
With grace, Mahavasu Gopdas Prabhuji ki jai.
श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। समस्त गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल।
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for giving such a wonderful class.
थैंक यू।
So we'll see you next Friday.
हरे
Hare
कृष्ण।